Hi, 8th graders. This is Mrs. Martin, and this is your first book talk of the 2020 school year. I'm excited to give this book talk today because we are in this new year, and even though I'm not with you in person, I think that doing this over video will give you an opportunity to stop and go back and hopefully write down some things or record it for yourself if there are book titles or authors that you want to go back to. Just like always, I'm going to have a variety of some different things here. The title, the author, the genre, all of that will be on there for you. And then I'm going to have a couple of helpful hints at the end of our talk today, just because our checkout process is a little bit different this year, at least to start the year, as you may already be aware. Let's go ahead and jump in with the first book, Far from the Tree by Robin Benway. This one's realistic fiction. It's brand new to the library as of this fall, and I really liked this book. This was one that I read back when we were home, the spring. This is the story. It starts with a child, a middle child. She's, I think, 17 years old at the beginning of the book. Her name is Grace, and she was an only child adopted at birth. But she's a middle child from her biological family, and she discovers that she's a middle child after putting her own baby up for adoption. She decides that this is the time for her to go and look for her biological family. She's got a different perspective on what it is to have been given up for adoption. Now that she's given up her own baby, she sort of has a different outlook on this whole thing. When she looks for her family, she learns that she has a sister named Maya and a brother named Joaquin. And her sister is loudmouthed. She's younger. Maya's family has some issues of their own, although at least when Grace meets her at first, it seems like Maya has kind of this perfect life. Lives in this great big house and seems to have every possible thing that she could want. But beneath the surface, there's clearly a lot more going on than that. And Maya at first has no real interest in getting to know Grace or find out more about their biological mother. Joaquin, their older brother, really also has no interest either in, kind of making these connections or these bonds. He's been bounced around in the foster care system all his life and has learned to kind of shut himself away. He's living with a family now that has held on to him for a while, and they're interested in adopting him, and he's not sure what to think about that. So this is largely about family and what it means to be a family, which is, of course, the question being asked on the cover of this book. But I would encourage you to read it for the character development, and it's going to take some turns in the road, I guess, that you may not expect. The three of them, as siblings, have some changes and some things that they go through that are kind of unexpected. And I really loved this story. Far from the Tree by Robin Benway. It's an unforgettable read. It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Segura. Another one that I just could not put down. This was a book that as soon as I finished it, I couldn't wait to recommend it to kids, and so I'm really excited that we've got this one in the library now. 16-year-old Sana has a lot of secrets, lots of little ones like we all do, but also one big one that she believes her dad seems to be involved with another woman. He's married to her mom, but it looks like he's having an affair. And she doesn't want her mom to get hurt, so she's not saying anything about that. And another secret she can barely admit to herself, and that is that she thinks she's in love with her best friend, who's a girl. Sana and her family, in the opening chapters to this book, moved to California, and Sana, leaving her best friend behind, decides maybe it's time to finally be honest, not only with herself, but with others. And she falls for another girl, a new girl at her school, and decides that she's going to be open and honest about the fact that she's having feelings for someone of the same gender. Turns out that truth that openness about that secret is not the hard part at all. That's what she thought was going to be so difficult, and it isn't. It's the things that come after that honesty that are so difficult. Between that and the issues around her dad's relationships, it's just a great book. It's just great. Please take this one. It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Segura. I promise you won't regret it. Game Changers by Mike Lupica. We have a couple of his newer books in the library. This is one of those. This is about a kid named Ben who is every football team's dream player. He can play any position, and he wants to be the quarterback, which would be his position to have, except that the coach's son currently plays that role. He's currently in that position. The coach's son, though, is not doing so hot. Even though he's been, kind of groomed to be in that role all his life, even though he's got the right size and the arm strength, Sean, the coach's son, is not playing well anymore. And Ben, it seems, could slide into the position and be the quarterback that he's always dreamed of being. Ben's torn between being a good teammate, going after his own dream, especially because he's moving into his high school years, and it's looking like, this could be what really makes it for him. So it's about these decisions and whether or not he's going to do that. And of course, lots of great football action on the pages. Game Changers, if you're looking for a terrific sports read, especially here in football season with not a lot of the same football action that we're used to in the fall, take a look at this one. The Similars by Rebecca Hanover, another one brand new to the library. We haven't had anyone check this out yet because it is, not one that I've shared yet. This is the first in a science fiction series that I think is going to intrigue a lot of people. The Similars are all anyone can talk about at Darkwood Academy. They are 6 clones. They're DNA duplicates of current students, just joining the class of kids that are already there alongside their originals. So imagine walking the halls of our schools and seeing kids who look just like some of your classmates and knowing that they're just clones. It's not that they're twins or siblings. Our main character, Emma, couldn't care less about these clones. Her best friend Oliver died over the summer, and all she can think about through her junior year is being without him and how she's going to get through. And then she comes face to face with Levi, the clone for Oliver. How on earth is she going to get through her year of school, seeing her best friend's face over and over and over, and knowing it's not her best friend? How do you grieve someone? How do you get past that? Well, Emma keeps getting pulled deeper and deeper into this clique. These 6 clones are always together, they're always around, and it seems there's some dark truths and mystery surrounding them. And she also can't help but to kind of start feeling some feelings for this boy who has her best friend's face. That's the premise to the start of this series. The Similars is the first book by Rebecca Hanover. Try that one out. I think that science fiction series is going to be popular. Our next, or I should say our last official book on the book talk is coming from our nonfiction. And this is a book by Jason Reynolds and Ibram Kendi. And you will probably be glad to know that I'm not doing the book talk here, but one of our teachers read this book and is going to do the book talk video here. I'll let her take it away.
Hello, everyone. It is Mrs. Trudeau, and this is my book review of the book Stamped. Stamped is by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. Ibram X. Kendi wrote the original book, which was called Stamped from the Beginning, and then Jason Reynolds took that book and, like it says toward the bottom, remixed it so that it's really accessible to a wider audience of readers. This is an important book. This book has something of value for everyone, regardless of where you might be on your journey in interest or growth when it comes to racism. So the subtitle of this book is Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, and that's exactly what Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi are tackling here. So the very first part of the book says, this is not a history book. This is a book about the here and now, a book to help us better understand why we are where we are, a book about race. That's important because history books can be a little bit dry. They can feel a little bit logy and slow, and this book does not feel that way. This book feels more narrative in style, so you want to know what's going to happen next. You're compelled to read and carry on rather than feeling like you're having to memorize and keep track of dates and place names. This is the team that wrote this book. So Jason Reynolds is on the left. He's an award-winning author. He's written incredible books for adolescents. He understands the teenage brain and does a really nice job of taking this super complicated concept and translating it into terms and sentences and paragraphs that anybody can understand. So I think he does a great job with this. And then Ibram X. Kendi, he's also an award-winning best-selling author. He's a historian primarily, so he likes to study and break apart history. And his main focus in that historical study is race. So this book, again, the subtitle is about racism, anti-racism, and you. Reynolds dives deeply into the difference between being a segregationalist, which is someone who believes that Black people and white people should be separated, an assimilationist, which means that somebody believes that Black people should work harder to be more like white people and then everything will be fine. So taking the majority race, at least at the time, and wanting everyone to assimilate to that race. And then an anti-racist, and that's somebody who is actively fighting against racism in America. So this book takes us all the way back to the origin of race, where the concept started in the United States. We meet people from history who we didn't know, but we also see people we already learned about along our path of education, but we see them in a new way. We see them in terms of racism and what that looked like in the context of the world that they were living in at the time. Reynolds finds a way to teach us about where racism comes from without boring us with dates, without boring us with lists of names, but also without making anyone feel really terrible about themselves or their own history or their own ancestry, which is important. I'm gonna move my head here. In the end, Reynolds leaves us with a feeling of understanding, hope, and clarity about what it is to be a human being. His main focus is on, we are humans, we have work to do, this is what that work might look like. This is why that work exists. And let's get to work. Loved it. I really enjoyed this book, which brings me to this. I'm a stickler about books, in particular nonfiction, and I give this book an easy 5 out of 5. It's well written, it's compelling, it is important, and it made me feel smarter. And it made me better able to have conversations about race and opinions about race. And I have a clearer idea now of what I can continue to actively do in the fight against racism and toward being an anti-racist. So go find it, go pull it off the shelf, read it. I wish you luck, and I hope you learn lots like I did.
I really appreciate Mrs. Trudeau sharing her book talk on this book, and we do have it obviously in the library, and I hope that you are as excited about reading it as she was and as I am. Check that one out. One last book I wanted to mention, or not even really a book, I guess I'm just sharing this one as an example of the fact that Mac and Via is still out there, right? We've got all kinds of ebooks available to you using the app, or you can go on our library homepage, and I'll go to that in just a second and show you how I found The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This one happens to be a book that's a great book for 8th grade readers. It's a book that is on our list of banned books that was part of our Banned Books Week ribbon that I'll show you on our catalog. This is the story, if you don't know anything about this book, it's a story of a kid who is a hope-to-be cartoonist living and growing up on the Spokane Indian Reservation. But he's really determined to take his future into his own hands. And so he leaves his school on the res to attend an all-white farm town high school. And on that journey, he's the only other Indian there, well, besides the school mascot. And he learns all kinds of things about himself and about this kind of new place that he's going to be. And there's so much more I could tell you about that book. But I wanted to show you, just by way of example, how you can do some shopping for yourself for other books on Mac and Via. So again, the Mac and Via app is on your iPad already, and I hope you remember from last year how to use that. I want to show you how I found this book going to Mac and Via. So I'm going to just show you real briefly here on the Library Media Center homepage. We can go to Mac and Via to our District 196 ebooks here. And you want to be sure that you're logged in under Valley Middle School for Apple Valley before logging in. It will prompt you for your username and password, and for students, this is your student ID. For staff members, it is your name. For everybody's password, it is your collab password. And there are lots of ways that you can go about searching on Mac and Via. The way that I went about searching this time was I just went to interest grade level, because I thought in this case, for those of you looking on Mac and Via, maybe you're just thinking, I don't know, I'm in 8th grade now. I just want to see what books are interesting to most 8th graders. So this is one way to do a search. As you can see, we can just move this little dot all the way across. I went until I got to 8th grade, and I'm applying that 8th grade lens. And then from there, it just happened to be, of course, I could keep loading to more books here, but it just happened to be one of the first books on that page. And then my little share for the book, as you can see, was just kind of from that summary. Just a reminder that as you're wanting to read these books, it looks like this book is checked out. That's that little red, dot that has the slash. I could request this book, and then I would get a notification on my collab that would tell me the book is ready for me to check out. So just reminders, that book or those books are available on Mac and Via. I did want to show you as well that our library catalog has we've made some changes to that to make the shopping a little easier for you. I mentioned that this book was one in our Banned Books Week display. This is a banner that's going to be changing every week or so, just to give you some new books to look at. Banned Books Week was the last week of September, so that was last week. All that means is that these books, somewhere, someone, at some point, decided that these books from our library should be banned. Doesn't mean that we think they should be banned, and it does not mean that we've removed them from our library. In fact, we have all of those books in our library, but it just means that somewhere somebody thought those books shouldn't be read. We would love for you to check them out, obviously. And so as you can see here, you can kind of peruse that list of books. You also can take a look by genre. So just like if you were down here in the shelves, you could go ahead and click through and find if you were looking for just nonfiction, you could go here. If you were looking for just funny books, you could click on that topic button. We've started also putting together what we're calling collections, and that is just some little ways for you to look at selected collections, I guess, of books. This first one called New and Notable, those are just brand new books to the library. You can see we have 83 of them listed there. So if I clicked on that, I would just get an opportunity to look at the cover and a nice summary of 83 books that are some of our newest books to the library. And once again, you guys have already seen the video about how to place these books on hold, and I hope that you'll come down and ask if you have questions. With that, my last reminder for you is to please remember, if you are placing books on hold, and I can't wait for you to do so, Please wait for that Schoology message before stopping down to the library. I know when you place a book on hold using Destiny Discover, it does immediately pop up with a message that says something like, "Your hold is available now." All that means is the book is on the shelf. We do still need to give Mrs. Kump some time to go and grab it off the shelf and check it out to you, and then she'll send you a message on Schoology. It usually takes maybe 15 to 30 minutes, and she'll let you know that the book is ready for you to come down and pick up. Thanks so much for taking time to watch this book talk, and let us know if you have questions. In the meantime, happy reading.